Listen, once I once I get on a consistent filming and posting schedule, it is over for you. Hello, and welcome back to my knitting podcast, episode 10? 9, 10? I am Katie. I am a Boston-based yarn dyer. I run Claws Out Yarn Company, and I am a full-time yarn dyer and knitting content creator in Boston. I get sweaty and overstimulated when I talk to people. So, I think it's been like a month, maybe, since my last video. So I have a couple of updates, some projects I finished, which is very exciting, some yarn I've bought, and then I think I'm just gonna sit and kind of work on a project with you and chill, and talk through my thoughts on some currently unfolding, happening, knitting drama. We can call it drama, but I think it's more important than that. And I just want to point out that, for once, I have a list of topics to actually talk about, and I have things listed and written down so that I can keep track of what I'm supposed to be talking about. So, a little behind the scenes. Somebody asked me, I put up a little question box on one of my Instagram stories the other day, and somebody asked me, like, oh, how do you keep track of your knitting projects and whatever? They were like, I like to use a journal, but I wonder how you keep track of your projects. And I realized that I don't. I use Ravelry to document my projects and progress and everything. I also have a spreadsheet that I use to track the yarn that I purchase, and then also when I use it and how much of it I use. So I think I'm going to try going forward to be doing a knitting journal. I really like these journals by, this is not sponsored, but if somebody from this company sees this, that'd be great, because I've been buying your stuff for years. I got these journals, they're from Appointed. This one, it got a little wacky because my cats ate the spiral, so it doesn't spiral as good as it would if I didn't have cats that like to bite things. But I've always really liked their stuff. I think I've been using these as my work journals for, God, at least 4 or 5 years. Anyway, point is, I just bought another couple of these to try to use as a knitting journal, so I think future videos, I will have updates on how that is going. I think many of us are kind of feeling the digital crunch. I say this to you as you're watching this on a screen, presumably. If you figured out how to watch YouTube not on a screen, I'm so impressed by you. Tell me your ways. I'm really trying to lower my screen time. I'm trying to do less things in front of a screen, but then I also, if I'm eating on the couch, I need something on the TV kind of thing. So I think it'll be good for me to have a way, a physical way to track my knitting projects. Let me know in the comments when I get these notebooks. They'll probably be here next week. Do you think I should start tracking from beginning of 2026? Or just what I'm doing now? Because as we know, I'm a big fan of working on a project and then abandoning it. So I don't really know how to incorporate all of the projects that I have going on, but I'm not actively getting my hands into. So let me know if you, when do you think I should start tracking projects? And also yeah, I mean, I'll have to come up with a system for how I want to mark if something is kind of abandoned or in purgatory or whatever. But whatever. Should I start with projects that I started in 2026, or should I try to incorporate past projects? I don't know. We'll talk about it. So I think let's start with my finished objects, because I have a couple that are very exciting. So the first one, I don't even think, I hadn't started it by the time of the last video that I posted here. What if I finished a sweater for Easter? So I did it. It was, I know I've said I'm not really that person that is I'm gonna knit a sweater in 7 days. Sometimes I am the person that's gonna knit a sweater in 7 days. So this is my Midland cardigan by Laura Penrose. I did finish it in time for Easter. It's my first ever double knit button band, which you can see here. Ignore, these are where the buttons are sewn in. I did a really good job on the button band. I'm very proud of her. Let's try her on. This cardigan is worked sideways, and it's all in garter stitch, as you can see. So garter stitch is when you have, it's not flat. It's got the bumps. It has this faux seam that goes all the way up to the shoulder and down the sleeves. And so basically you start this sweater. There's yarn down there I have to talk about later. You start the sweater on the side. Let me show you. This is actually one of the places I made a mistake. There isn't supposed to be this stockinette line here, but basically you start it on the side here, and then you knit like this. So you knit this front section and the back at the same time. Then you cast off stitches for the front, work across the back, cast on stitches for the other side of the front, and work the other way. There is a seamed option where you basically knit one big flappy thing, and then you seam the sides together, but I did the seamless option. So on this side I started with Judy's Magic Cast On, which if you don't, it's how you like start a lot of toe up socks. It's like an invisible, super sneaky, kind of weird cast on. So I started that, and then you kind of knit in like a weird loopy shape for a while. And then when you get to the other side, I don't think I'm explaining this well. When you get to the other side for this option, you do a like 3 needle bind off situation, or no, Kitchener stitch, whatever, which sewn bind off. Anyway, it was honestly really, really fun to make. It's definitely interesting. Never made a sweater like this before. Oh yeah, and then when you pick up the sleeves are the only part where you're actually purling, because you are no longer knitting flat, you're knitting in the round. So you have to knit a row and then purl a row the whole way. Although in the pattern there is, if you really hate purling, the pattern does have a modification that some of the testers did for knitting the sleeves flat, which I didn't do because it wasn't really that much purling and it was okay, but I was glad that I was knitting a whole cardigan and I didn't have to purl every other row, because I do hate that. So my issue, which was my own fault for this sweater, and it wasn't really an issue, I was really worried that when I got to the hems and the cuff and the button band, which are all worked like last, I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to have enough yarn, enough of the purple yarn. And I've talked about this yarn in a couple videos ago. This yarn is Sweet Pea by Long Dog Yarn Co. It has these little there's little red bits in it. It's really lovely. It's a perfect like pinky purple pastel. It's on their Merino DK base. And it's lovely. It's super squishy. It's like really, really a wonderful yarn. And it's just 100% superwash merino. But I was worried that I wasn't going to have enough. And I think I ended up, I still have like a good portion of one ball of this left, but I don't think it would have been enough to do everything. So I went in my yarn stash and I found this color that became the contrast color, and that is Combat Boots by Baby Cat Yarns, which is also 100% superwash merino, also DK. So this has just been sitting in my closet for like a year, and it turns out it was perfect. It's the perfect color complement to this. So for that, the button band eats up a lot of yarn if you've never done a double knit button band before, like I hadn't done one. So I used up a good amount of that. I wrote down, see, the notebook is not, it's failing me a little bit because I did write down that I should weigh the remaining yarn for this and let you know how many grams I used, but I didn't. But I used probably 450 maybe 25 grams of the purple, and then maybe 75, 80 grams of the brown. Anyway, she's beautiful. I love her. The buttons that I found, they're lovely. Hello, focus, focus. They're gorgeous. They were my Nana's. You might have seen I have this jar in my office that is full of buttons, and these were buttons that my Nana had. And when I was growing up, I would go into her, she was a seamstress and she ran a fabric store for a long time. Excellent with her hands, made me lots of dolls, made all the dolls clothing, like I think she made clothing for my American Girl dolls, like so when I was little, I would go into her her sewing room, and I would sit on the floor and I would play with these buttons. And so when she passed away, I found a way to get her buttons. They were really like the only heirloom that I wanted. I'm so happy that I have them. And so when I went through this jar to find buttons for this cardigan, it's just so lovely. I was like, oh, I'm playing with these like I used to play with them when I was like 5. Which is just really, really lovely. She passed away almost 6 years ago, so it's really nice to have that. And now I have these lovely buttons, and I was like, this button would be perfect because they're kind of like, they're clear, but like a little bit shiny, whatever. And I was like, ooh, there's another one. There were exactly 4 of these buttons, which is how many buttonholes I had. And that was just really lovely, very special. So thank you, Nana, for helping me put buttons on my Midland cardigan. I think you would really like it. So that is my first finished object that I have to show you. It's super exciting. I love it. It's so squishy, and I looked really, really cute on Easter. So totally worth it. Totally nailed it. I'm glad I'm not wearing it right now because it's hot in here. So this one I did talk about in my last video. This, it's so long because it's a dress, is my cranberry knit dress, which I made and finished in time for my bridal shower, which was on Sunday. Here I am at the bridal shower. I look so cute. Everybody was really impressed that I made this, although, like, come on, people. Are you surprised? So yes, I managed to knit this dress for my bridal shower. I started it on Valentine's Day. I got the yarn at Knitwit Yarn Shop in Portland, Maine. It's great. It's Barocco Ultra Wool DK is what they call it. It's just superwash DK. Although I would say it feels like it's like a thin DK. It's kind of more leaning towards like sport weight, but I really like it. This pattern is, you start at the top and you knit like this triangle, and then you pick up this triangle, and then you knit this triangle and you pick up this triangle, and then you work them that way, and then you join them. Different increase rates on the hips so that you can increase at either like a sharper or a softer angle. I increase at the sharpest rate. There's also, I chose the deeper V neck, so this actually kind of, the V hits me like pretty low here, but there's also a shallower V neck. And I think if I ever made this again, which I'm not opposed to, I'd probably do a shallower V-neck so that I wouldn't have to wear something under it. This is knit on size 9 US needles. The pattern calls for size 10. I was like, that gauge is gonna be crazy, because I knit kind of loose anyway. I'm thinking I would make this again. Same size. I made a size 5. Size 8 needles and a shallower V-neck. It would look great. I think I used, 325 grams. I bought 5 balls of this yarn, so that's 2 finished objects in a week. Let's move on to exciting yarn I want to talk about. I realize I haven't like unwrapped any of this, so you might get some accidental ASMR, so sorry. The first yarn, ooh, God, looking at it is so pretty. The first yarn I have to talk about, I'm doing them in reverse order of when I bought them. So this is Paisley Knits, which is my first order from them. I actually ordered this in November and just got here recently. Are we kidding? Are you kidding? It's actually a little bit greener than it's showing up on the camera. It's so beautiful. This is Paisley Knits, the Cove DK base. I have 5 of these in the colorway Pippin from the Lord of the Rings collection. It's so pretty. I have 5 of these. They're each 90% extra fine superwash merino, 10% nylon, classic, 246 yards per skein per 100 grams, pretty standard stuff. And I have 2 projects that I want to make out of this. The first project is the one that I had in mind when I bought this, but obviously that was many months ago, so now I'm like open to something else, but I still like my first idea. So my first idea was the Alchemist pullover by Woolen Pine. I think that'd be really beautiful. I do like doing a V-neck. So that's what I bought this yarn with the intention to make. But my second idea that's kind of come to me recently is the Book Club Raglan by Sari Nordland. Because I've seen people making the cardigan version. There's also a non-raglan pullover version. I like a raglan. So I think this would just be really lovely with all those cables. Obviously there's not as much cable-y texture stuff in the Alchemist pullover. It's enough yarn to do either sweater, so I guess I just have to pick which one I think would look the best in green. Blue-green. So I'm super excited about this. It is so squishy. It's like squish, yarn squish. Big fan. Also, like, look at the little logo. It's so cute. It's a little crab. Little crab holding the knitting needles. Like the same. Me. Tag yourself. The next yarn, this one's the really ASMR-y one that I stepped on earlier. That's really obnoxious though. Let me get these out of here and then we'll talk. This is BFL fingering weight from my girl Republica Unicornia, my girl Kathleen. There's a color palette to all of these yarn acquisitions. So there are these 2. I have 3 of these. I bought 3 of these. Love. Okay. The blue is called The Mystery of the Blue Train. I have 3 of these. And they're on the pure BFL base, so it's 100% superwash British Blueface Leicester wool. I have a similar base with claws out. And it's 438 yards to a skein. Awesome. And then this color is the Cowlin. Kathleen just did a whole like vintage Pyrex glassware collection. That's what this is from. So it's whitish, but it's got some little like very subtle variegation in it, which I'm really into these. So like I said, 3 blue, 1 of these, because I am making, this might be very ambitious. Actually, this might be a soon to be cast on because I'm really excited about this. I'm going to be making the Melville sweater by Sarah Beth Hall. I saw this sweater when I was looking for something else. I don't remember what. And it just like shocked me. So it's a obviously Moby Dick inspired, whale inspired raglan sweater. There are little wave pearl details on the sleeves. The raglan has a detail in it where it spells SOS in Morse code on the raglan. And then at the bottom of it, there's a whale. How could I not make that sweater? So these are perfect. So we've got, this is the blue for, you know, ocean, and the whale color. So I'm super excited. Now that I'm talking about it, I've been thinking about this sweater for months. So it's probably gonna have to get started at some point soon. Maybe when I finish another project. Because like I said, I have that test knit to start. So once I finish another project, then I can start the whale sweater. I'm super excited. Yeah, so stay tuned on that because that's going to be really, really exciting. So this is fingering weight. So also it's going to take me a while, but it's going to be so worth it because I'm going to have a big whale sweater. Moving on. Can you guess the next color yarn I have is also blue? Okay, so last week on Saturday, I participated in the Knit for Food knit-a-thon. We raised like well over $500,000 for food access organizations, which is so amazing. It's one of my like pet causes. Very exciting. And I spent the whole day at Boston Fiber Company in Boston South End. It's my local yarn store. They're the best. I have yarn there. If you're in the Boston area, I have a bunch of my own yarn. Closeout yarn is at the store. It's great. And we were hanging out knitting when Sarah, the owner, was like, oh, someone just bought some of the possum yarn and said that they only came to the store because of the possum yarn. And I was like, excuse me, the who yarn? The what? And it turns out that, so Boston Fiber Company gets a number of yarns from Circus Tonic, which is an Australian yarn company. Their yarn is so nice. It's so soft. It's so beautiful. I have a couple like sock weight skeins of it. It's delightful. It's so beautiful. And, but I didn't know about this possum yarn, which is sourced from New Zealand possums, which apparently I also learned on Saturday that possums are a major pest in New Zealand, and so like people are encouraged to kill them because they're invasive, they're dangerous to the local bird population, which in New Zealand, like, there are no natural predators to birds. So the poor birds are just like at the mercy of these possums that have been introduced to the country and are like eating them because the birds in New Zealand have no defenses against predators. So possum's bad in New Zealand. And so we were joking that this is like a very non-vegan wool. I'm not vegan. Doesn't bother me. The possums are a pest. Come at me, I guess. So I had to buy the possum yarn. So I got 3 of these. They're honkin', first of all. They're frickin' massive. Hello? So I guess you can see it's 80% non-superwash merino and then it's 20% possum. So you can see there's like a brownish halo-y bit to the yarn, and that is the possum. The possum yarn has like this brownish tint to it. So I got 3 of these and I'm making myself a sweater. I am making the Lilith pullover by, what's her name? Megan Babin of Mego's Pearls. I think, so Sarah, the owner of Boston Fiber Company, was saying that this is the best yarn that they've ever knit with. That it feels amazing. It's in the fingering weight section of the store, but it knits up more like a DK because it's kind of thick. So this sweater is a DK sweater, and apparently it really gives like a little bit of like a real good definition around each stitch because of that halo thing. So I think this sweater with like the texture on it will be perfect for. It would be too busy if I did a variegated yarn for this sweater, but it's going to be like, just every stitch is going to be so well defined. As I said, this is a honkin' skein. It is 437 yards. So it's the same as like the BFL skeins that I have, but it's more of a DK weight, so it's just like this thick boy. This is the color Flax Lily. Again, I don't know why my camera's not showing, but it's kind of like a, it's actually like just a darker version of what I'm wearing. It's like a, kind of like a robin's eggy kind of sky blue that's like a little bit darker because of the brown on it. Oh, it's so stunning. So I'm very excited about this. I was like, oh, possum yarn, I'm buying the possum yarn. I'm buying the freaky weird possum yarn. I guess it's a little bit similar to like cat fur. Well, you know how like cat fur is like the shorter spiky fibers? It's kind of like that, but it's a possum. And the possums are bad, so it's okay that the possum yarn is here. I am stoked. Shout out to Circus Tonic. Shout out to Boston Fiber Company. Shout out to removing invasive species. Those are all the yarn acquisitions I have, I think. So I am limiting my yarn buying, but I was like, I'm buying the possum yarn. This is really my first yarn acquisition since becoming a full-time yarn dyer. A little treat. And as a reward for knitting till my hands were aching on Saturday. I knit for 8 hours straight. So I think it's okay that I bought some yarn. Now, if you give me a moment, we are going to kick back and we're going to talk about some frickin' ridiculous knitting community nonsense that's been going on. While I talk to you about this, I'm going to be taking out this hat, which I like. I just think that this is too fuzzy. So I'm going to take this out and maybe start just like a new, probably another perfect day beanie, because I've been making a lot of those this year. We can enjoy that together. So, okay. Here we go. So like I said, there's been some yarn stuff going on, specifically with a yarn designer that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. So last week, I think it was, okay, hold on. Disclaimer here that I don't think needs to be said, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm not a knitting, like drama channel. I'm not a drama channel. This is not the main point of me being on YouTube, is to talk about stuff like this. That's not really like my thing. I do think it's important to call out bad behavior. And I think that this whole incident kind of speaks to a moment that we're in, especially here in America. But I think it's of concern globally as well. I don't know. I don't think I have a lot of viewers from outside of the US, but either way, whatever. My point is that this is important beyond the knitting sphere a little bit, I think, and whatever. But I myself am not a drama YouTuber. Like if you've ever watched Aspen's videos, Made in the Moment, they are so wonderful and delightful at like providing lots and lots and lots of context and not just context, but like screenshots and receipts and dates and things, and I don't have that. So just bear that in mind, that I'm just going to tell you as much as I know and then my feelings on it, but I'm not really, there aren't going to be like time-stamped, receipts and stuff. That's not what I want to be spending my time doing. So anyway, jumping in. So last week, Stephen West, the designer, he is known for his like very colorful and fascinatingly constructed shawl patterns. He does mystery knit-alongs. Like his stuff uses a lot of brioche, a lot of color work, a lot of like, his designs are interesting and exciting. I've never made one because his designs are not for me. I don't really need my shawls to look like wings. I don't, when it comes to knitting stuff like that, I'm much happier to just be doing something that's kind of more straightforward. But whatever. So last week I think it was like a live podcast episode, with these two people. One is named Neil and the other one is named Shauna. And they have this podcast, and they had him on to talk about his, his design process and blah, 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 knitting stuff. And he has, he also owns Stephen West owns a yarn store in Amsterdam, Stephen and Penelope, and is just kind of generally like pretty big name in the knitting and pattern sphere. So he was on this podcast, and they talked about, just like knitting, design process, whatever. Also, if I'm not looking at you, it's because I'm trying to unpick mohair ribbing and it's getting stuck. So this guy, actually both of these people, but I'm going to focus on this guy, Neil. Although this woman, Shauna, does not get off clean, in my opinion. Neil is the guy that runs Blocked magazine and like Blocked knitting and whatever. And he is a virulent, aggressive, MAGA conservative knitter. He's highly bigoted. He's kind of like, he's been known around the knitting community because of how bigoted and conservative and just like every sort of ist that you can be, he is. And it's pretty straightforward if you look at his social media, which I have done, but I'm not going to screenshot him here because my videos are cute. I don't want him in there. It's very easy to see from his social media, the views that he holds. And so Stephen West went on this podcast and like posted it on, which I think is now taken down. Again, I don't have receipts, but I believe that like he put up a post, like it was a Zoom, interview. So there was like a screenshot of like all of them talking. And I think that Stephen West had put that on his Instagram page where he has like over 300,000 followers. I believe it has since been taken down because people were like, hey, what the shit are you doing talking to this guy? Rightfully so. And so that was like drama number one, is just the fact that Stephen West went onto these people's podcast. And I just want to say, I don't know as much about Shauna, this woman, but obviously if she's the co-host of this podcast with this guy Neil, and this guy Neil refers to himself as Knitler. So I'm just going to let you sit with that for a second. So my point being, like, she is obviously also not a good person because this guy who goes by Knitler is her, like, business partner with this podcast. I also believe that as far as, like, at least as of yesterday, I believe, the podcast episode was still, like, available for people to watch and listen to. So there's that. Anyway, so that's drama number one. Stephen West, big, very popular, very well-known knitting designer, goes on this podcast. And obviously, like I said, they didn't really talk about, like, politics. Stephen West also lives in Amsterdam, so, like, American politics are maybe a little bit distant to him, but he is an American. So then, obviously, people get mad, call on Stephen West for him to, for an apology and to be like, what are you doing? So then he posts a, like, Instagram colorful background graphic apology on his Instagram that says, like the other day I had a conversation or whatever with a person. He doesn't name the people. He's like, I was not aware of the views of the host, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not naming names of this person because I don't want to platform them anymore. And then he turned the comments off on that post. And so that is not really an apology. And a number of people have been pointing out online the past few days, and rightfully so, and I will get to them in a second, that, as I've said, this guy's politics are so evident on in his media presence, that like what do you mean nobody, either you, Stephen West, didn't look at his social media to be like, let me vet this guy, or just like check who I'm talking to as somebody with like more than 250,000 followers on Instagram and like a wide population, or a wide like customer base, or like nobody on your team did. Like, do you have a team? So it's either that nobody did their due diligence, which is embarrassing, because you would have to do, I mean, the smallest ounce of due diligence to figure out like, oh, this guy is bad, or you knew maybe that he was conservative, and maybe you knew to the degree that he was conservative, and you just didn't care, which to me is what I believe is more likely true. Again, I don't have any evidence to support this, but as I've said, this guy goes by Nittler. His politics are extremely evident the second you click on any social media profile that's related to him. So you're telling me that you, Stephen West, with this giant platform, just hopped on a podcast with somebody that you didn't know anything about? Or did you know about him and you're just like, well, that doesn't really affect me, so I don't really care? And I just want to name right now, okay, I've done this, now I have to start the hat, a new hat. It's going to be all bumpy and weird. Yeah, I just want to name right now that Stephen West is a gay man. He's a white gay man. He also, I imagine, is relatively well off, considering how popular his designs are, how popular his knitting shop is. So there's some people are like, how could you, Stephen West, as a gay man, platform this homophobic, most likely transphobic, like terrible person who stands for a lot of values that are dangerous and bad for gay people? And the answer is that whiteness and money or success or fame equals power. And so Stephen West has that power, and so he doesn't feel threatened by someone who holds these views despite being a gay man, because being in one marginalized group does not mean that you can't be prejudiced against other marginalized groups. It's also, I think that having that sort of level of fame and power to some degree gives you a sense of like protection, and safety, despite like, oh, well, this guy stands for all these things, like, he's racist, he's xenophobic, he's sexist, he's whatever, but that doesn't affect me because I'm powerful and rich. And I don't know what Stephen West's fucking bank account looks like. I don't care. But basically, as I've said, it boils down to, okay, either nobody in your circle around you thought maybe we should check this guy out, or you were just like, well, yeah, okay, whatever. And that's ridiculous to me. So then there's been evidence that Stephen West has been like deleting comments off of things that were kind of obviously not supportive of him. Autumn of Size Inclusive Collective, who is like the best if you want to follow somebody who's on the pulse of like drama or like problematic knitter, designer, yarn people behavior. She's the person to follow. She's so cool also. And so she's been calling him out because I'd say that the rational side of Instagram is like, how dare you? I'm on here. I'm rational. How dare you platform a fascist? In today's day and age, you are supporting a fascist, and then when you get called out for it, you apologize, bad apology, and then you turn off the comments on your for your followers who want to be resisting fascism and want you to be also doing that. You turn off the comments so they can't say anything, but you're still lifting this guy's voice up. And that point, hold on. There is a video that I saw by somebody, Shelly, who their Instagram is Frankenstein. They put up a video about this a couple days ago, which is like so good and wonderful, and that's kind of where I'm taking a lot of this from, and that's why I'm not calling this drama, because the basic, like, the crux of this issue is that our world is descending into fascism, especially in the US and in other countries, and it's insidious how these bigots gain power and influence. And so we, as not bigoted, normal people, need to be addressing and fighting that sort of slimy, power-grabbing rise at all opportunities. And so they made a really good point. Shelley made a good point that, like, by protecting and platforming and naming this guy, Nittler, and turning your comments off on a post where there could be valuable conversation going on, you are uplifting a fascist and pushing down the voices of regular people who are not fascists. Hold on. Gotta count my stitches. Give me 1 second. Okay. I have to restart my cast on. So, I agree with that. I think the whole thing is ridiculous. Meanwhile, like, on Stephen West's profile, it's like, okay, here's this podcast I was on, here's this nonsense apology that's really not an apology. It really does feel more like I'm sorry you felt that way, which, as we all know, is not an apology. And meanwhile, like with Autumn of Size Inclusive Collective, on this person Shelley, on their post, so many of the comments have come from people that are big fans of Stephen West and supporters of his and whatever. And it's like the what I've seen a lot of is, oh, you don't want a gay man to succeed, so you're going to take every opportunity to criticize him and the work that he's doing. Which I'm just going to tell you right now, that is a bad take, because of course I want gay people broadly in general to succeed. Gay people that are okay and chill being friendly with fascists, I don't want any of them to succeed. You know what I mean? And that goes for any people of any identity that are chill with fascism. I don't want them to do well, because that's bad. And that is a risk to everyone's health and safety all across the, so like, so I hate that take. I saw someone was calling out Autumn of Size Inclusive Collective for like sharing all this stuff about Stephen West, and then also like posting links and stuff to like her Patreon and whatever, and I'm like, God forbid a woman makes $1. They were like, oh well, you're trying to like monetize this situation and like make money off it, and she was like, no, I have to make income still, and I'm not getting paid for these posts about Stephen West, you know, like. So then, I think yesterday maybe, Stephen West posted a better apology. It was a bit more like, I messed up, I did a bad thing, I do not support these views. He even said like, I'm not going to turn off comments. I'm pretty sure that he did turn off comments, or somebody was deleting comments or something. It's just very messy and stupid, and I think when you get into the like the nitty-gritty of, oh, did he turn off comments, or did so and so speak on this or whatever, that's when it becomes more like drama and more like, it makes it seem more superficial. But in reality, the important thing is, like I said, that resisting fascism and standing up to bigots always is far more important than really anything else at this point in our lives. And it's like, I also want to name, wait, before I forget, my battery's about to die. I've been talking for so long. I want to name that a couple years ago, Stephen West was like semi-canceled for doing one of those mystery knit-alongs where the middle design of a shawl looked eerily close to being a swastika. Okay, my battery died, but I was saying, the mystery knit-along where obviously he knows what the final product looks like. Other people were only getting like a couple, like a clue at a time to create the garment or the shawl. So again, like, so you're telling me that nobody around you, including yourself, was like, oh, that maybe looks like a swastika, I should change my design before I release this to thousands of people that want to knit this? So it's like, okay, are you really just like very sloppy with how you handle yourself? Or are you just kinda comfortable with the fascism, like, until it comes for you? My take on it, which I hope that you will all go forth with, is that fascism is bad. Platforming conservative bigots is bad and makes it look like you don't care about your fellow man, or woman, or they. Sorry. I want us all to be doing better. You can't be saying with an empty chest that you are against bigotry and conservatism and fascism and whatever. You need to be showing with your actions and your words that you are actively working against the forces of evil, basically. Counting my stitches again. I'm getting heated and I can't count and yell at the same time. 1 second. Would you believe it? I have too many stitches. See? That's how you resist fascism. You overachieve. The point I'm trying to make here is that in order to stand up against the fascism that is kind of just like appearing around all corners all the time, is that we need to have empathy for people that aren't ourselves. I care deeply about people of all colors. I care about dismantling systemic racism. I care about battling homophobia and transphobia, which is like incredibly rampant right now. I care about people in other countries who are being bombed and killed by my government. You know, just because I am an American doesn't mean that I lack a heart and love for those people that are suffering. You know what I mean? I care so much about everybody that isn't me. because that is what you are supposed to do. You're supposed to have empathy. Loving your neighbor just means, it doesn't mean your literal neighbor. It doesn't mean like the people that live in that side of our apartment building. It doesn't mean the people that live across the street. It means everyone that is like part of my community. It means everyone that, it means everyone. It means loving another person the same that you love yourself and treating them with respect and kindness and love and empathy. So this got all philosophical and weird. Yeah. Let's just all agree, all of us here in my little video bubble, let's all agree to not become friends with anyone whose chosen nickname is Nittler. What else is going on with me? Tell your local yarn stores that you want my yarn in their store because I'm taking wholesale orders. Let me know in the comments 2 things. 1, how I should organize my knitting journal. And 2, which of those sweater options would be better for that blue-green Pippin yarn. And that's about it. There will be no defending of fascism in my comments. So let's just make that clear. If you want to find me places, I am on Instagram at Closeout Yarn Co. There is a link in the description for both my Instagram and also for my Discord server where we just like chat about pets and coworkers and children and vibes. Yeah, please find your local mutual aid groups, donate to organizations you love that are doing good work to uplift marginalized people, and I will see you in my next video. And look, this is gonna be a new hat, so it's a good day. And go outside. Stop looking at me on here. Go touch grass.